Hello there, my name is Prashant, and today I'm going to talk about the strategy that you should adopt in order to decide what kind of AI tools you want to bring into your design process and which part of the design process does it make most sense to use these AI tools in. I recently made a video where I spoke about the fact that AI is going to be part of the workflow for designers in an official manner. Your organization may not have done it right now, and I would highly recommend that you should respect that policy decision and should not jump into use of AI if your organization has not allowed it. But I personally feel that it's going to be a reality very soon for most of the organizations. There are few organizations who have already started using it into their workflow and are asking their teams to utilize AI tools. And also, there are few people like myself, independent contractors, who have to make their own policy basically in consultation with their clients that whether they should use AI or not. So, especially for these people, the reality is already that the use of AI is happening. Assuming that you are also one of those people who are able to use AI in your workflow in an official manner, then what is the strategy that you should apply in going about your hunt for the right applications and your learning path? Because there are hundreds of applications out there already, and there are new applications that are coming up every day. Like I mentioned in my previous video, the technology of generative AI is not that complicated, and therefore the entry to barrier and the barrier to entry to coming into the business of selling an AI enabled application is fairly low. Fundamentally, how it works is that there are some foundation models. Foundation models are large models which are typically owned by very big organizations like the Microsofts of the world, Amazon, IBM, organizations who have the money and resources to process a very large amount of data, because it's a very resource intensive job to do so, because a lot of computing is required, and to own so many GPUs and the ability to spend on this sheer power that is required to run these models, so lots of energy. So these are very large organizations who own this space. And then there are these smaller organizations who use these foundation models and customize it for their specific use case. And they do it by a process called fine tuning. So you take the foundation model, fine tune it according to your particular use case by feeding in labeled data in the foundation model. Now, I don't want to go into the technical detail of how it works. That's not what this video is about. But I'm just explaining the reason that why so many people are coming into this field, and why so many applications are coming up, and why the barrier to entry is so low. So the barrier to entry into this space is so low because the technology seemingly is relatively simpler than many of the other very complex technologies that exist in our world, and humans have already mastered it. Because of this, there are so many applications that are coming up into the market, and they are coming up every day. It's growing. So how are you going to wrap your head around so many options? Because obviously it's not practical for you to go about and try out 100 applications to decide which ones you want to use in your workflow. So you need to have some kind of thoughtful strategy as to how are you going to go about your search in this world of AI applications. And in this video, I am going to recommend my sort of framework that I have used so far in order to go around this ecosystem of AI apps, and what my preference is. But taking that as a framework, probably you guys can also sort of decide for yourself that what kind of applications do you want to go about and try and learn and finally incorporate in your design workflow. So my framework is two layers. First layer is, according to the nature of the design process, what part of the process would it make most sense to have AI assistance? Because the end-to-end design process has different stages to it or different steps to it. If we talk about a standardized design process, it starts from research, then you define the problem, then you do ideation, then you do, detailed designs and high fidelity designs and prototyping and visual designs. And then finally you do user testing, and based on the results of the user testing, you go into an iteration loop to improve your product. So if I look at this standard process, there are certain parts of this process where I would want AI intervention. And there are certain other parts of the process where I prefer not to have AI intervention. And same would be true for you. So first thing that you need to do is to analyze the design process, analyze your own skill sets and what kind of a designer you are, and then figure out that what are the parts of design process which you enjoy and what are the parts of the process which you don't enjoy so much, but you cannot compromise on those steps because you believe in the integrity of the process and you are a good designer at the end of the day. So you don't want to compromise and cut corners, but if you had a little bit of AI help in those areas, you would be able to negotiate through that part of the process much more effectively and create much more impact. So first layer of filter for you should be this, that I am this kind of a designer. This is the process which cannot be compromised. Now, what are the parts of the design process where I could use a little help? In my particular case, I am big for documentation. I really like to do a lot of groundwork before starting the design itself, the visual design. And, that means that research, documenting the requirements, writing use cases, and then ideation. All of these things are very important for me. And these three things, if you really have done this stuff before, this actually is very intensive work. There is a lot of manual work required. Research is not easy. You have to go out there in the world, collect data, and when you have collected the data, you come back to analyze that data is a big challenge in itself, and it's not an easy job. Imagine you did a simple research activity of floating out a survey, for example, and that survey had, let's say, 20 questions, and you got 20 responses. So that's already 400 data points for you to analyze and make sense of and draw insights from. And it's not an easy job. Sometimes you need multiple people working for many hours to reach on to any kind of conclusion as to what this data is even telling me. So that's a very intense job. Then documentation when it comes to the requirement side of things based on insights, writing quality use cases, user stories, that again is a very tedious job and not all designers enjoy it. And you have to spend many hours writing that stuff down. Again, it's not a very easy thing to do. And then coming to the ideation, which is the third step, there again you have to generate a lot of quick sketches. You have to involve stakeholders who may or may not be good at sketching and visualizing stuff, but you do want to capture their ideas. And there again, I see that there's a lot of scope of AI intervention. So for me personally, these three steps of the design process is where I would love AI intervention the most, because it can help me do some quality documentation and comprehensive documentation, and it can help me a lot on the side of the research, where if I was to do that kind of analysis on the user data, I would take many hours and many days. But now by the use of AI tools, I can do it in matter of hours, if not minutes. And then there is the fourth step of the design process, which is about visual design, detailing design, high fidelity designs, creating prototypes for testing and stuff like that. That is the part, with or without worrying about how tedious that part is, that is the design part that I personally enjoy, right? So I would not want to take that out of my workflow too much. I would not want to use AI tools in this particular part of the process too much. I would want to keep most of the artifacts under my control so that I can have some sense of my personal style into that work. And more importantly, because it's also the part of process which designers by default enjoy, playing with shapes, colors in tools like Figma. That is the most enjoyable part of the design. So why would I not want to do it? Because I don't want to make my job very boring at the end of the day, right? And then when it comes to user testing and iteration, there again, you can utilize some tools, but I am kind of on the fence for it. I may want to use AI for that, I may not want to use AI for that. So that's my first filter, which is what is the part of the design where I can use the AI help most. Then comes my second filter. Once I have done my decision making on the first level, I come to the second level. And then I see that when it comes to the quality of output from AI tools, there are certain category of tools which have evolved quite a bit, and the quality of output has already reached a level where I can start using it in my serious professional work. Whereas there are other categories of applications which have not evolved to a level where I can utilize the output from these applications directly into my project. They are not there yet. They will be there for sure, but they are not there yet. And you would not want to use an AI tool for the heck of it. You would want to use it if it is able to produce the type of work that you would be proud to include in your projects and deliverables. And when it comes to certain categories of AI products, they are not quite there yet. If you further deep dive into what are those types of AI applications that have evolved and what are the ones that need a little bit more evolution, then the three categories of AI, generative AI, the text to text, the text to image, and text to video. Out of these three, I think the text to text is the part of AI, generative AI, which is so much ahead in leaps and bounds to the other two categories. This is where tools like ChatGPT fit in. And if you compare the quality of the output from the text to text generative AI tools to text to image and text to video AI applications, then there is no comparison, basically. And I feel very comfortable to use the output of text to text applications in my real projects. After, of course, my own vetting of the output and review of the output and making sure that I agree with the AI and it makes sense from the perspective of the project. I still have to do a little bit of reviewing and supervision of the AI output. But in terms of my hands-on doing, the quality of work is so advanced that it really cuts down a lot of my work and therefore is directly helpful in increasing my productivity. In other two categories, which is text to image and text to video, and most of the text to UI applications fall in the text to image category, there, of all the tools that I've tried so far, I have not been able to get the output which can be utilized on my projects directly. They still have a long way to go. They are okay for some standard work, like if you were to create a catalog website or if you were to create a landing page, maybe. If you were to do some very standard UX stuff, then maybe yes. But if you are working on specialized projects and products that have very complex functionality, particularly on the enterprise side, then for those kind of products and projects, these tools are practically of no use as of right now. And the amount of work that I have to put into these tools to reach to a level of output that I would accept to be included in my projects is kind of beats the purpose of using AI in the first place, because the purpose of using AI is to reduce my work. But if I have to do so much work with these AI tools to reach to a level where I can utilize these designs in my project, then what's the point of it, right? I would much rather do it myself because that is still faster than doing it through AI tools in order to get the kind of output that I expect to have in my projects. That's the second filter. So even if in your design process question, there are certain parts of the design process where you feel that you could use AI tools, but then on the second filter, you realize that the tool itself has not evolved to a level where it can help you produce quality work, then I would recommend don't use it for the heck of it. So that's how I decide. And luckily for me, the tools that have evolved the most, the tools that have reached to a maturity level where they are producing stuff that can be used in projects directly, are also the tools that are most helpful in the parts of the design projects where I want AI intervention the most. The tools that we have today in the category of text to text are very helpful in these three steps of the design process. So for me, if I have to start looking out into the entire landscape of all the applications available out there in the world of AI, first, I will only focus on the ones that are meant for research, requirement documentation, and ideation. So I would not just go about looking at everything. Once I have shortlisted those, within that, I will only focus on the ones that have evolved to a level that the quality of the output is acceptable in real projects. And right now, for me, most of those tools are limited to text category of generative AI. And the tools that belong to the rest of the process of the design, like detailing, graphics, and stuff like that, that I would not go about and learn as of yet, because in my trials, I already know that they have not reached to a level of quality that is acceptable. And in any case, in terms of the design process, that is the stuff that I enjoy doing myself. And for those reasons, I would not go about looking for applications in that area as well. So now I have a strategy and a framework in terms of what are the kind of applications I want to focus on and where do I want to upskill in the next 6 to 8 months. And then I will do another review of where the different applications have reached in terms of their evolution and kind of make another decision as to whether I want to bring in more applications into my workflow or not. And with that, I can say that this would be the end of the video. I hope you got some good direction in terms of the strategy that you need to adopt in the adoption of AI tools in your workflow. If you like the video, I would love for you to send me some comments, some feedback, and start some kind of a discussion around this topic. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your time. I will be back with another video on another topic on some other day. Till then, goodbye.